Welcome to Kicker News from College of the North Atlantic. My name is Patrick Newhook.
And I'm Ken Meeker.
We are today's hosts. Coming up on today's show, we will be investigating the case of the missing sidewalks. We will also be looking at a traveling busker who is far from home.
Are you concerned about the city's sidewalks? Some citizens are, and they've taken up protests about it. Patrick Newhook has this story.
This winter has been difficult for St. John's, and some people are fed up with the state of things. Because of this, a concerned citizens group called Winter Sidewalks in St. John's, Newfoundland is holding a protest called Crowd In for safe and accessible sidewalks. Kelly Burton, an organizer of the group, is hopeful about the protest.
We're not a formal organization, so we are all citizens of the city trying to come together to make the city safer. The purpose of the protest is to bring people together to voice their concerns about the sidewalks in their areas.
So far this winter, over 300 centimeters of snow has fallen, higher than the average yearly amount, something that Mayor Danny Breen is aware of.
Well, it's been a challenge since Christmas Eve. Our staff have been working around the clock with all our equipment on the road. And what happens is with back-to-back snow events, you don't really get a chance to fully clean up from the first one before you're dealing with the second one.
It's a cold morning in St. John's. I'm on a walk with local Emma Crosby on a stroll through downtown to discuss the state of the sidewalks. Well, you look at that mound of snow over there.
That's just crazy. Wow.
I can't see anybody getting around it, no.
Just not possible. Like I said, I think a greater priority on pedestrians, especially around schools and around the university where so many students walk and don't have access to a vehicle. But I do think the city is doing the best it can. There's a lot of snow. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of streets. So obviously it's going to take some time.
The protest will take place on the 17th at 3:30 p.m. down at City Hall. This is Patrick Newhook, St. John's Kicker News.
Music has always been a staple of the Newfoundland culture, but for Tony O'Brien, music is all that he's ever known. Tony has been playing music of all kinds for over 20 years, but one summer, he packed his bags and left for Europe to meet one of his friends and busk all over the streets of Scandinavia.
We decided that it would be just a bit of an adventure, and we left and went to Denmark. Every day we would pick out a town, find a place. We took our credit cards and cash and put it away and said it's there if we need it, but we're going to try to do it every day on our own. And we had enough. We could afford food and gas and coffees and just the nice little things, and actually even paid a parking ticket and had money left over at the end of the trip. So
in all, Tony visited 7 different towns in 7 days, living out of his car on the streets of Denmark. Despite all the fun he had, Tony doesn't busk for a living. His day job is teaching students a wide range of instruments and playing at local pubs. You can also find him every Tuesday at the Rocket Bakery playing some tunes. Rebecca Johansson was a student of his for 8 years. She had only good things to say about her former teacher.
He was extremely kind. Music is his entire life, and if he gets to share and influence young people, I guess that's pretty rewarding in itself.
Tony's love for teaching music is endless, and there isn't anything in the world that he's more passionate about.
seeing somebody else get the same feeling from music that I got when I was learning. And there were so many things that I wanted to learn, and I didn't have a teacher when I was younger. I learned mostly on my own. When I can show what I've learned to other people and see them grasp it quickly, and it's just a great feeling. And even on your worst day, it'll still be a pretty good day, I think, yeah.
For Kicker News, I'm Nick Conway.
It may be hard for some to believe that there are actually people who eat only a plant-based diet. Sadly, this lifestyle comes with a lot of backlash. Kicker reporter Tandy O'Grady has the story.
Being judged based on what you eat. This is the reality for many vegans in the province, where meat is the center of every meal. Jillian Phillips is a student at the College of North Atlantic and owns a vegan bakery called Gypsy and Ginger. She became a vegan for health reasons. However, she has found that some are not supportive of her lifestyle.
Sometimes there's a total stigma associated with it when I have my cookies out at the market and people will walk by and say, oh my gosh, that looks awesome. And then they'll see the vegan sign and be like, oh, it's vegan. Like they think that there's something like weird and magical that I put in it to make it vegan when simply all I did was maybe omit an egg.
Lori Rao is an instructional coordinator at the College of North Atlantic. She also became a vegan to improve her health. Because of this, she is no stranger to the judgment that vegans face.
Well, some people just don't understand it, so they say, they sneer or say something like, oh, you grew up eating that kind of stuff, which I did. But, I'm not 10 years old anymore. I'm an adult and more responsible for my own foods now.
So where did this misunderstanding about vegans come from in this province? This is what Phillips had to say.
Newfoundland is really behind the times when it comes to a plant-based diet or a vegan lifestyle. I find that a lot of Newfoundlanders have a hard time imagining a plate of food without meat on it. Like, even if it's just one meal, they're, what am I going to do? What am I going to eat? And I think it's just learning, like, we have so many beautiful produce and plants here on the island and so many beautiful vegetables that I haven't even seen all of them yet myself, and I always find different things.
For Kickin' News, I'm Tandy O'Grady.
Do you like fighting for fun? Well, combat sports such as martial arts and boxing have become very popular in Newfoundland and Labrador over the last 50 years. As interest in the sports grew, more knowledge was gained, and safety became a bigger and bigger concern. Kickers Ella Burke spoke with two local senseis to talk about how safety in combat sports has evolved.
Started when I was 11 years old. I didn't like being intimidated by the bullies and didn't like being pushed around. I just wanted to be able to stand up on my own 2 feet. So in 1969, I went to Montreal and I trained with John Gale and Gerald, the founder of Kempo in Canada. And a year later, I returned to Newfoundland and introduced Kempo here in 1970. So this is my 50th anniversary teaching Kempo. And when we started, there's very much, whatever you did in the dojo is where you train, it had to have practical and effective use on the street. And our style with Kempo, it was very rough and very tough at the time. We didn't have any pads on our hands or feet, and you gave it and you took it and you didn't yap about it. And if it was too tough for you, well, you had to find another sport. Probably by the mid to late 70s when we started to really see more use of the safety equipment.
Well, I started training in 1979 at the tender age of 24. Once I realized I was starting to get a bit out of shape and probably needed to do something about it. And at that time, a friend of mine was involved in Kempo. Okay. And he encouraged me to join, and I did. And I've been practicing ever since, over 40 years now. Everybody needs to be concerned about safety, especially in martial arts or any contact sports. Any contact event is going to have issues with concussions if you're not careful. And that's something you want to avoid at all costs.
So now a very important piece of equipment is the helmet. And again, it protects the front part, the ears, the side, back of the head, and the top. And these are some variations of the different types of helmet that we have. So as you can see, the whole head and side of the head area is protected, back of the head as well, in case you fall or slip back. This would be another variation. So this one has more protection for the front part to protect the cheekbone in that area.
So would all of these helmets be used today?
Depending on the tournament and who was hosting the tournament, they could specify what type of helmet would be allowed. If you play a sport and you're moving your body with speed and power, no matter what the sport is, no matter what the activity, there'll always be a chance of injury. But we want to make sure that those chances are very limited and that the benefits of the sport far outweigh any kind of injuries that you might acquire. So you always protect yourself at all times, and this allows you to be more alert, to sharp and understand the role that the individual has to play in their own safety.
Canadian Improv Games are coming up. Someone's going to get to represent Newfoundland and Labrador in Ottawa. Are you ready?
We are the Holy Heart of Mary Battle Dogs.
Zany Zeke had the most colorful hair in the town.
Zany Zeke wanted to be a politician so badly when he was older, but nobody could take him seriously on account of his zaniness.
Hey Zeke, how are you doing today, man?
I'm doing terrible! Look at this! My hair's 3 new colors!
Whoa, that's crazy, Zeke! You sound like you're going through a lot. Are you okay?
I'm terrible! My socks don't match!
Whoa, that's like so outrageous, Zeke!
Neither do my shoes!
Whoa, they're like different sizes!
Matt Williams is a member of the troupe and has been improvising for 2 years. He says that the key to improvising is the energy.
For me, it's either energy, because like for some people it's like thinking on top of your feet. That's not like, I'm not like stressed over that. I just feel like constantly needing to keep going for it.
Emily Dormady is a veteran of improvisation, and she's been in the game for years.
I've been improvising. This was my 3rd year. I started in grade 9 in junior high, and now I'm in grade 11.
How do you feel about the upcoming regional finals?
I think I'm a little nervous about it, but I'm very excited to like go and see my friends and get to see them perform, because like I hear about them practicing in their practices, but like I won't get to see them until the finals and semis.
Thanks a lot, gang. This has been a lot of fun. This is Norman Matcham on Kicker News with the Battle Dogs.
I'm Emily.
Matt. I'm Adam.
I'm Jack.
I'm Cameron.
Woof woof! that was awesome.
Coming to town, Kicker's Chad Feehan talks with a local artist and industry professional about the East Coast Music Awards, which celebrates music from across the Atlantic Canadian provinces.
St. John's is hosting the 2020 East Coast Music Awards this April, featuring 38 nominations from Newfoundland and Labrador in artist and industry categories alike. Synth-pop artist It Could Be Frankie is nominated for Electronic Recording of the Year. She speaks on the positive impact recognition has on her as an artist.
I've been doing this a long time, with this project and with previous projects. It's nice. It helps you keep going. I find when you get recognition, you're like, okay, I must be doing something right. I should keep going.
Almost every artist has played to a near-empty room at least once. Danielle can attest to this in her own career, but a sense of purpose and a little push every now and again brings her back to the stage.
I've been playing on a stage since 2002, and I've had many of those moments, many, when you're wondering, like, what is the point? Like, why am I, question why you're doing it. Ultimately, I keep coming back because you can't stay away from the stage too long.
Michelle Robertson is an instructor of multiple music programs at CNA and is a former chair of the East CMAs. She's seen the impact CNA graduates have made on the award show and its association.
We've had lots of graduates from both the music performance business and technology program and sound recording and production program enter into the industry and be nominated for lots of awards, actually win the awards. They've showcased at many of the past events. And we've even had some sound recording and production students become full-time staff members, or I should say regular contract employees of the East Coast Music Awards, given their exceptional talents in their field.
Check out the East Coast Music Awards from April 29th to May 3rd. For Kicker News, I'm Chad.
With the story on the beginnings of the local band, quote, The Raven, people are asking, what's next for the ECMA-nominated duo? With Kicker News, this is Ken Meeker.
Walk with me when you're feeling blue, and talk with me like lovers do.
It's amazing to get recognized from the arts community, like for your achievements, and yeah, the ECMA nomination was a big surprise. We've been nominated a bunch of times for Music NL awards and stuff over the years, but never ever got the ECMA nomination. So it was unlike anything else, really.
Why can't we be like a picture on the screen?
So my last year of high school, I got introduced to musical theater, doing a cabaret in Holy Spirit High School. And that was basically it. That was the flip from being like wanting to be a professional wrestler, WWE style, like straight up, to wanting to be a professional musician.
Every day's a minute, every way we're in it.
And it was there where I met Kirsten, and we decided to do a duet together one time. And people were like, "Oh, your voices sound really great together." I met so many friends at the Music Box. I've just over the years, like it was pretty essential. Like again, I would never have met Kirsten in the first place, or the people that taught me how to play certain chord progressions, or whatever the case may be. So they were huge in everything that we did.
I was looking for someone to do a little skit at the beginning of the show, and Brittany suggested Jordan Coker. I'd never really heard of him up until now. And sure enough, he came in, he had everything all prepared, and he acted out a skit at the beginning of our show, and went over really well. And that was my first time meeting him, and you could tell like he was really into the show. He was watching the band, he was just like, oh, he was the biggest fan of the night. The passion and drive is what I saw in him. Like it's just someone you can sense when someone's just got a general love of music, and he had it. Everything was completely genuine.
The fact that we got nominated and won a Music NL award, the fact that we got the ECMA nomination, all span from us getting together for 2 weeks in January of 2018. I think the trajectory for Cold to Raven is to go international and just kind of keep doing what we're doing, and say that this is our career.
Congratulate Jordan Coker on all of his successes, and I knew you could do it.
This has been Kicker Radio, produced by the student journalist at the College of the North Atlantic. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and at kickercna.ca. I'm Patrick Newhook.
And I'm Ken Meeker. Thank you for joining us, and see you right back here soon.